Hi, I'm Jenny Bilfield, President and CEO of Washington Performing Arts, and it gives me great pleasure to be here with you as we explore a passion project of a consummate musician, educator, advocate, and even more, our friend, the illustrious Midori. That passion project is Partners in Performance, or PIP, a nonprofit organization Midori founded in 2003, which co-presents chamber music concerts with the goal of stimulating interest in classical music, specifically in communities throughout the United States without the financial resources of major urban centers or large universities. PIP has co-sponsored concerts with more than 30 presenters throughout the U.S., featuring recitals both by Midori and by those in PIP's Young Artist program. By way of introduction, Washington Performing Arts is one of our nation's first independent performing arts organizations. We're based in our capital city of Washington, D.C., and like Midori, we believe in championing the arts as a unifying force. Through collaborations with artists, educators, community leaders, and institutional partners, we bring wide-ranging artistic programs to stages, schools, and neighborhoods throughout our nation's capital, and with our virtual platforms, share our work throughout the world. While Washington Performing Arts is not a PIP presenter, given our urban status, we have partnered with Midori to highlight this program as a result of her receiving Washington Performing Arts 2020 Ambassador of the Arts Award. Our relationship with Midori spans back to our very first presentation of her as a teenager at the Kennedy Center Terrace Theater, and it's grown only closer over the years. Our past recipients of this award are deeply distinguished individuals, including musicians and music supporters alike. They include Denise Graves, Sir James Galway, and Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. All have used their award to spotlight an aspect of music close to their heart. While the pandemic has had a major impact on all of us, arts organizations especially were required to rethink how they engaged with their audiences. Many of the PIP presenters, with very small and often volunteer staff, were particularly challenged to think about the pivot to virtual and/or socially distanced presentations. Midori worked with some of those presenters to share different ways virtual presentations could engage and be very deeply personalized for their audiences through masterclasses, lecture demonstrations, and live program notes. What you'll see today is essentially an example of the virtual PIP model. We'll hear two solo works performed by Midori, which were composed by Fritz Kreisler and Jessie Montgomery and recorded just for us and for you. And then you'll also hear a masterclass with former Washington Performing Arts Fader String Competition winner Miyabi Henriksen. We'll conclude with a panel discussion with Midori and two Partners in Performance presenters, Lance Ozier from Music at Corrales and Sandra Nikolajevs from Chamber Music Charleston. They'll both speak about how they've weathered the pandemic. Thank you for joining us. We hope that you have weathered the pandemic well. We look forward to seeing you in person. Please enjoy.
Wow, wonderful. Great. That sounds really, really good. You've been playing it for a while?
Yeah, I have, like, around from December, I think.
Yeah? Well, it's actually really, it's very, very well disciplined and well thought out. You're almost at the tail end of working on this piece, no?
Yeah.
For now?
Yeah.
For the time being? Okay, good. I really, really, really enjoyed listening to how you play it. You know, you had a lot of energy, you know, and you seem to have been enjoying it as well, which is good. Okay, so I have a few comments to make, but do you have any questions?
Not right now, no.
Not right now. Okay, so, you know, I was thinking that this is a set of variations, right? This piece, and we always have similar issues, I think, when we have a movement or a piece that's a set of variations. It's really difficult in a way to have the variety, because the theme is the same as a variation, and yeah, the variation comes in different key or different, you know, sort of character, but it's really actually difficult to get that contrast out. Yeah? And a couple ideas that I have maybe to help you a little bit on that end. So one of the things I wanted to talk to you about was actually, you know, this theme that bum, 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 it comes many, many times, but let's take actually, do you have your music there with you?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so it's a third page from it's a third page from the end. It's a page that starts with a pizzicato. Was this? It's that page, and let's basically it's so blatantly this set of variations, right? So first you have the harmonics, and then you have the. Let's take these three, and I'm curious how you feel the difference in the momentum, even though it's the same thing. So, for example, the first one in this page is with harmonics, right? So, do you, in your relationship to the piano part, yeah, for now you're playing with piano, do you want to be pulling that direction? Do you want to be pushing it? You know, like, okay, you know, don't get behind. You know, come with me, kind of a feel. Or do you want to be exactly together? Or do you want to feel like, oh, don't leave me, wait, you know, so let the piano go ahead. Okay, so that's basically the three ideas. Which way is it going to be for the harmonics? And then when you get to the next variation after that, it's actually marked allegro with an open strings, yeah? How do you think? How do you think about the momentum? Do you want to be driving it? Or do you want to be together exactly with the piano? Or, like, okay, I already said this, right? Or do you want to be, like, trying to make sure that you don't get, you know, behind from the piano? Okay, same thing also when you get to the trills. Okay, let's start with those ideas, yeah? And then there are a couple of other things as well. All right? So
Okay.
let's go from where you have the pizzicatos. Dum, bum, 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 bum. Good, much better, much better. Okay, so do you get the sense of this sort of how you move the music, what you do to make the music move can make a difference, right?
Yeah.
Okay, now these three variations are interesting because they're really, really contrasting sounds that is after. So when you try to relate harmonics, yeah, to, I don't know, whatever sound you might find in nature, what would it be? Yeah, and can you enhance that? Can you don't tell us what your answer is, okay? Don't tell me. But I want you to actually give me the answer with the way you play it. Now, when you get to the open strings, okay, can you imagine what this is like? What does this music do to us? Yeah, this sound, what should it do? How physically can you feel this sound? What does it make you feel like? Yeah, does it make you see color? Does it make you feel a certain kind of energy? Okay, and then you get to the trills. Okay, what's your reaction? It's kind of annoying, yeah, trills. Can you enhance all these qualities? So yeah, the trills, okay, more annoying, and it's like ringing in the ears. It's like crazed, right? Okay, whatever it is for the open strings, whatever you have in your image, and then also whatever you have for the harmonics.
Okay.
Okay. So, one last time, let's try that. Much more contrast, I think, right? There's, it's not just that I hear the contrast, but to me it's so much more satisfying to hear it this way because there's such a range, okay? And so one has to be careful, especially like we have fortissimo, then fortissimo, then fortissimo, that they actually don't end up being the same. It's not simply just loud, but there's more with whether it's trills or it's open strings, the characteristics. Ravel actually, really, I think, used their instrument well. I mean, he was such a fantastic, mind that he really knows how to use instruments. So when he's having us play open strings, there's a certain character that he's after. When he's using trills, it's not just trills, but he's after a certain quality of the character. So I think you have to get underneath that, underneath these notes, this music, and try to be him. So try to get inside Ravel's head, right, to understand why he's doing this. Now let's go on to this next page. Yeah, and again, he goes from moderato, same thing, it's variation, but moderato, then he has estando and allegro and moderato, all these things, right? And it's not simply one is slower, the other is faster, and it just goes back and forth. But there's slightly, different characters that are meant with each one of, these things. So let's go. Let's go from the top of the page, and I'll stop you this time too, a little bit. Okay, so Miyabi, listen. If you're going to do that harmonic, I think that's great. Yeah, some people don't do it at all. Some people do it twice. Some people do it once. Just like it doesn't matter. It's great. I think it's good. But if you're going to do it, use the character. Don't just do it just because that's somebody gave you that fingering, or you thought about it before and you no longer enjoy doing it. No. Just why are you doing it? What's possible because you're doing the harmonic? Okay. Good. Try it again. Nice try, and try it again. Okay. And I think of it, moderato. It's not like I want you to have a lot of different tempo with this, to go all over the place. That it's going to be illogical. But I think of different ways of just sort of walking, walking and trying to get somewhere. And sometimes you go, and you go this way, and you go, and some, right? Or sometimes you go tiptoes. So it's all in the way walking, but different ways of walking. Okay? Try it again.
Question. So for the moderato section, are you saying that there's I'm supposed to change the way I walk throughout that line, or
Yeah, within that.
Okay.
To shape that line. To shape this.
Okay.
Yeah? Okay, so Miyabi, listen. So there's that, and then you have, that's something different, right? And then kind of back, but then this one. So first part was, but then it's not the same, right? So, and then we haven't had that stroke where we haven't had that before. That's different. Right? So all kinds of different things you can do is, yeah, so then it's, then you have the harmonic. And then, okay, and then do we go back to, nope, this one actually changes every beat. All kinds of things. Or whatever you want to do. Good. Let's go on. That was good. I loved how you did that. And some kind of sort of letting it be, right? Making it sound like it's letting it be, but that you didn't go da 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 da. You didn't do this. It doesn't become this pedantic thing where you went. I love the fact that you did that, because that's what it actually says also, yeah? So let's go from, and then when you get to, so what can we do with the harmonics? Harmonics here actually, it's in a very different context from when you have that, but it's very clearly meant for something. Yeah, so let's see what you do with it. Okay, so remember that this is good. I liked, everything up onto the allegro. Okay, so there's a rallentando. When he writes allegro is right there. It's not rallentando gradually accelerate to become allegro, right? It's rallentando, allegro, then furthermore accelerando, right? So there's a rallentando, and then allegro immediately, taka 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 down, yeah? So where would you like? Would you like to start from number 21?
Yes.
Okay. And then what's interesting with this? He's pretty specific when he puts rallentando, so slowing down, rallentando, however he puts it, slowing down before the next before the re-beginning, and places where he actually doesn't put slowing down, places where he puts a rest before the next thing, re-beginning, or places where he doesn't put the rest. Okay, when there is no rest, the places where you have the rest, I think, yeah, it's easier to actually take that rest. Places where there's no rest, okay, it happens here, and it also happens a lot, actually, this feeling of suddenly missing a beat. You know, like something doesn't add up. If you have that because of the meter, he changes on the last page. But in this case here, don't take the rest as if there is a rest. There is no rest. And it's going to feel a little strange, but I think that's the point. You know, so you go really fast with the vivo, but then you come in right away, but then the tempo is different. It's moderato again. It's not just it's not that. It's not that either. It's like, whoa, it's a little strange. And I think that strangeness is part of the character. Yeah. Okay, so let's go from the pizzicato, the allegro. Exciting, and from here it's going to just keep increasing excitement, right? Okay, can you feel your sound? Can you have a physical sensation? Can you imagine your sound in terms of how it feels to have this sound? Do you have a physical reaction? Does it feel like your goosebumps? Does it feel like, it's like, well, not here, but sometimes you could have chills, that's running back, in the back. Whatever it is, but can you have a sense as to how the sound changes? Not just sort of right here. I want it to be more physically felt, more vividly felt by you. And then you can communicate that. So for instance, this is so thick in a way, right? And I feel like everything like vibrating inside. And this one's deeper, for instance, yeah, and then you're going to have something completely different, right? So let's see what you do with this. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah, let's try from 22. Some ways to create contrast and ways to feel the sound, yeah, ways to think about how it's written and then how to enhance some of the qualities, take what's already there, pizzicato, trill, harmonics, to really think about what he really wanted for the sound. Okay, let's take just quickly just the very opening. And I think this opening, I liked it especially because, you didn't just make it into this free-form condenser. It's, Ravel is so exact, so precise in the way he writes. I mean, you even look at the first page and the second page of the cadenza, and yes, seemingly the same, but if you look further and deeper into it, how different he wrote. Yeah, and so I actually could hear that you appreciated this and that you were paying attention to it, so I really liked that. But I want you to start it again, and I think you've really, really learned the piece, yeah? And I think it's musically played really well, technically played really well. Can we also make it emotionally connected? Okay, emotionally connected doesn't mean that it has to be this rubato, romantic, open. It doesn't have to be that. I want you to try to respond to the music emotionally. Yeah, and then sometimes, I think that one could actually even react even to a single note. How does this feel? It's not that general thing. Yeah, of course that you will have to respond to, but that note itself, No, so it's not just okay, B long, but there's something. I want you to actually try. First of all, try to respond yourself emotionally to the music, and let's, then we can bring it out. So let's try from the beginning. That's so much better. That's so much better. Of course, it's different playing the second time. Now we were working on it a little bit. Now you played it the second time after having done other places. But this actually sounds like it grabs me right away as a listener. Okay, now let's go on a little bit. So, yeah, I mean, you're making expressive, but can you also make your slide, if you decide to slide, can you make that more expressively felt so that you're not just playing the notes expressively, but you're also playing the slides expressively? Okay, hear it expressive, hear it with imagination, play it, the slide is a very important part of your line, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so especially, so yeah, slides. Good, keep working on it. Okay, so so things are repeating now. Is okay. What does that do to you? What does it make you feel like? And how does it transition? How do you sort of progress in the repeated sort of fragments? Right, emotionally, I'm talking about. Okay, try it again. Try it. Here's some ideas. Maybe there's something you can do in the beginning, slightly different in articulation. Yeah. Okay. So I have to point out. Okay. So there is brown, and there's brown, there's brown, there's brown. I mean, they're different. It's same, but yet different, right? So that's the same thing with what I'm saying here. It's all slurred by twos. Or you can, or you can do different things, right? So maybe articulation is one of the ways that you can, maybe alter to make the music progress. Also, you can do something with the left hand. Which of the notes? So you want the A to come out. So maybe each one could have a little bit more vibrato to it, a little bit more spike to it. Yeah. And then also, if you're feeling da 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 da, if you're feeling the beats underneath, how does it develop? Does it just get it's faster, but does it get bigger? Does it get bigger? And does it get bigger? Right? Or does it start to go just from sideways to more swing? Whatever it is that you want. But there are many different ways that you can do it sort of inside your head, psychologically, that can help. Okay, and then the vibrato, yeah, and the articulation. Okay, so let's go from, can we go from the yeah? like that for the articulation, yeah? Something like that. Can you work with that?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So very, very good. But yeah, be careful, with the things that are, set of variations. It's difficult to find that contrast. So you need to keep thinking about it. And there are different ways of finding that contrast. It's not simply always loud or softer, right? There's so many things you can do underneath, in the head, yeah. And then also, if it's a piece that you've been playing for a while, don't forget that emotional connection you might have had in the beginning. It's not just musical, it's not just, played beautifully, but there's an emotional attachment that really, really has to happen that can be communicated.
Yes.
All right? Well done, Miyabi. Thank you.
Good afternoon. It is wonderful to see the three of you here. I'm very excited to have a conversation about the extraordinary work that you do. And just to set this up, I think that there's a tremendous opportunity that we have as artists, as arts presenters, as arts producers, to embrace the totality of our communities as we imagine what the future might be like for the arts, and to engage our communities in imagining that future with us. Each of your organizations contributes to a vision of connection and inclusive artistry in a very unique way. And I've been so taken with how you do this, how your organizations have done this for such a significant span of time. And I'm very excited about the opportunity for many of our viewers and audience members to discover the extraordinary work that each of you does. Of course, the driving force behind this connection is Midori, who is a treasured artist, an indomitable force for excellence in performance, arts education, community engagement, and the PIP program, the Partners in Performance, that has been a tremendous inspiration, as well as an organization that has propelled wonderful connections.
I don't remember exactly when I started Partners in Performance, but it must have been about 20 years ago. I received a wonderful award called the Avery Fisher Award, and I wanted to do something. It came with a monetary award as well, and I wanted to do something that would honor the legacy of Avery Fisher. That was my first wish. I had already started my other organizations, such as Midori and Friends and Music Sharing, but this Partners in Performance is something a little bit different from the other two because it's performance-based, it's classical music-based, and it's putting artists directly onto the stages of concert halls or concert stages or performing venues that are being utilized by community-minded presenters. And it was always my wish to be able to reach out to bring the arts, live performing arts, to areas of this country that is often left out of, say, large orchestra tours. And I wanted to go and work with presenters in smaller communities that were so committed to performing arts, and really working with their entire community to cultivate interest in the performing arts, of which classical is one. And so, I started, I think, in Sandwich, Illinois, then went on to do different recitals. How it works right now is that there's an application process. Presenters apply for this grant of concerts, and they get reviewed by the board. I actually don't participate in that selection, and they're chosen based on what it says in the proposal, essentially how this grant can actually support their work. and to give them further opportunities to connect or reconnect with their community. And how it works also is that it's the recital plus a young artist recital in the following year. Sometimes we actually flip it, and then there's a young artist recital first and then followed by the recital. And some of them could come with educational opportunities, outreach opportunities, opportunities for the artists to be in that community. So it's not a single shot concert event, but it's hopefully something that is layered, that can also carry on and continue after the artist himself or herself leaves, except that we all want to do this. So I'm very, very happy today that two of our past participants, or I should say current participants, because they're both participating in our COVID-19 support program, they're joining us. And I am also very excited to hear about what they've been doing in their community. I think when Jenny, you, Samantha, and I started to talk about, well, what are we going to do with this event? There was a question, well, what does a typical PIP presenter look like? And there is no typical. We're united, okay, as I already said, by this love for a passion for the performing arts, but everyone's different. So Lance is, from one type of a presenter, and Sandra is from another. Very, very diverse, really characteristics we've seen in the PIP presenter family. So I'm very, very excited today.
Oh, thank you for that. As you were speaking, I was thinking that through this program and through others that you've launched, there's this blend of pragmatism and optimism, because you have approached each of your endeavors with this sense of service and commitment, and trying to really respond to where there are needs and opportunities. And that for me speaks to a very optimistic sense that if we can connect people with the resource and through partnership, that we can continue to nurture audience and artists. And as I was looking at the websites for Corrales and for Charleston, music from Charleston, Chamber Music Charleston, sorry, I was really struck by how explicit the connection to community, to landscape, to geography, to culture, local culture, was named in your missions and in your vision statements. And it speaks very much, Midori, to what you were just saying, which is that we share the love of chamber music, but the way it manifests itself is very specific to community. So I would love, starting with Sandra and Chamber Music Charleston, if you would take us a little bit through the design of the organization, and say a little bit about how you do nurture this connection with community. And I should also say here that I think for people who are watching, that when we speak about community, we're not speaking about something other than ourselves. There isn't the community versus the organization. The organization is part of a community, and the community comprises the artists, the listeners, those who are in an arts education program. There isn't a separation, as might have been the case many years ago with organizations that saw the community as something other. And that's the design of both of your organizations. And I'd love if you'd speak about that a little bit. So Sandra, starting with you.
Sure, well, thank you. Well, Chamber Music Charleston, I founded it about 15 years ago. And Charleston's unique in that once a year we had this huge international festival, the Spoleto Festival, and that is the biggest arts organization in all of South Carolina. And for 2 weeks, the arts is everywhere, on every street corner downtown. But the rest of the year, it's very different. So 15 years ago, I realized during Spoleto, there's such a love of chamber music. They present sometimes 3 concerts a day to sold out audiences, and then it all stops. So I realized that Charleston does have a love for chamber music. So I decided to start concerts a variety of concerts. We first started with house concerts where we would be in these beautiful historic homes with an audience of about 50 people. And that's when I first experienced true chamber music as it was originally intended, in a small chamber where you're so close to the audience that this process of creating music and creating art doesn't just belong to the musicians in front of the audience. It's really a group effort. So we had this incredible synergy. And after each performance, we would have a reception, which means the audience and the musicians would know each other. And 15 years later, when you think about community, I feel that we've really fostered this familiarity, relationship. It's almost like a big family. We have probably about 300 regular folks that either go to house concerts on Kiowa Island, a beautiful island right off of Charleston, or downtown, or our big concerts at the historic theaters like Satilli or Dock Street Theater. They all come and experience different types of chamber music, but they all feel a part of what's happening. We're a little unique in that we are a presenting organization, but we utilize the phenomenal professional musicians in Charleston. So we provide this opportunity for our musicians to create art and have musician development. We bring in guest artists sometimes to play alongside them, which just inspires the musicians and excites the audience. So we're very varied in what we do, where we play, who we play with, what our repertoire is, but it really builds this sense of everyone being a part of it, which I think works especially well with chamber music. And being able to work with partners in performance adds this other level. We had never had someone like Midori come to Charleston to play with us until it opened our eyes when we received the grant. And for us, we first had the Young Artist Concert, and that was with Francisco Foyana. And that inspired our audience, our musicians, and also myself in terms of educational ideas. And through learning more about what Midori does in education and speaking with Francisco, we've now launched more residencies and hands-on work with high school students. So it's always innovating and always growing on ways that we can share music with those around us.
So Lance, if I could turn to you, if you could tell us a little bit about Music in Corrales and about the organization and your approach to the PIP program.
Sure, I'm delighted to be able to do that, and thank you so much for the opportunity that Midori has made possible here and for WPA as well. So I'm delighted to be here. Music in Corrales is in its 34th season. It was created in 1987. In case you don't know, Corrales is a very small little enclave outside of Albuquerque on the west side of the Rio Grande. And we're originally an agricultural community. It's now changing and evolving. But this organization started in 1987 with the recognition that high quality music, principally from local artists, but now over time developed to a broader scope, was just not available in our town, and it was primarily a rural agricultural area. The organization is all volunteer. It's a nonprofit. We have no paid staff, so it's really very intimately a part of the community. We rely on the support from the community, both in terms of financial and in terms of just operational. So we've been doing that. Our genres are mixed, but we have a wonderful venue that Midori was not able to see when she was here. It's a 150-year-old adobe church that has been decommissioned from the Roman Catholic Church when they built a new one. But the old church seats 175 people, and we have a concert series of one per month from September to April, and we put in about 175 people into the concert into the venue. It's very intimate. It's a wonderful acoustic venue, and people who it's really the heart of the cultural heart of our town. They have weddings there, they have political rallies there, and we have our music series there. So we're very closely connected to the life of the community, and in a venue that is a very cherished venue. I will tell you just briefly that 6 years ago, when we got the grant from PIP to host Midori in our town, we immediately looked at it as a huge opportunity to raise awareness and extend our reach. So we actually rented a concert hall in the next town over at a high school, and with support from sponsors and donors, we're able to not only sell tickets but also to provide free tickets to Native American pueblos, to senior centers, to schools where the most of the kids are under the poverty line, and we filled 1,100 seat hall with Midori, and we could not have done that without her. She's the superstar that made that possible.
It's tremendous. And this notion that people participate in chamber music, they come for these intimate experiences or social experiences, and then this whole world of connection opens up to them through these experiences. And I'm very struck too that as both of you described the venues that you perform in, the intimacy, and certainly when there's an opportunity to bring up a larger audience, that you'll go to a larger venue, but we're still not talking about venues that hold 2,500 people. So whereas a ticket at an affordable level for many people might put them in the very last row, even if you're sitting in the last row of a 200-person space, you're still having this very extraordinary experience. And so chamber music is really where the love of live music can be kindled. I wonder if you'd say a little bit about well, first of all, the way you program performances, how you sort of build an experience for your audience members, and then I'd love to segue into a little bit of the arts education work that you're committed to. So, when somebody as a newcomer comes to a concert in Charleston or in Corrales, what is their experience like? How is it different? How do you design something that really says, yes, I'm in this place with this extraordinary presenter. These are the things I value. How does that come through in your programming and your presenting? Sandra?
Yes, with us, because there's sort of two routes for our performances. One is the standard theater and the other are the house concerts. So I'd love to speak about the house concerts because it's so unique. Charleston is known as a city of hospitality, and it's sort of that Southern charm and the friendliness, and the house concerts really embody that because we have a great network of volunteers that love what we do, and we make our concerts only an hour in length, and we do rely on the masters that the people love to hear. So we have, the Brahms, the Beethoven, the Mozart. We don't do too much of the 20th and 21st century, mainly because of what our audiences ask for. But the experience is just walking down a beautiful Charleston street on a Sunday at 2:30, walking up to a gorgeous mansion, being greeted by a lovely volunteer to give them a program, and then they go in and just see all these antiques and the architecture, and they find a seat and they see others around them. When we have a concert on Sunday afternoons, it's 3:00. We always have wonderful weather, the sun coming in the windows. And before the concert starts, everyone in the audience is talking with each other. And my husband, a cellist, will come out and chat with his friends. And I'll pull him back at 2:50 and say, okay, get your cello out of the case. We're going to start. And it's very relaxed. I tend to MC the concerts. And my goal, and I feel my job, is to put everyone at ease because classical music, people think it's stuffy. It's never stuffy at our concerts. I speak about the pieces and find anecdotes that are interesting to myself. And I try to get people to laugh. And then the music starts and it's gorgeous. And an hour later, it concludes. And I'm really thinking about that full experience that someone has from walking in, hearing the music, and going home with this memory. And even though now we've been virtual and online, people are still commenting how important this is in terms of escape. Life is difficult and there's so many challenges coming out from everywhere. And to be able to have a moment where you're just surrounded by art and by people loving this process, it's just incredible.
So it's really about warmth and welcome.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, do you think that this is it your sense that people respond differently in a home concert than in a theater setting?
Yeah, I
Do you
feel
end
they,
or
yeah, I feel they do. And some people actually prefer not to be in a home because it feels a little bit too personal. So some people would prefer only to go to a concert hall where they can be a little more anonymous.
Mhm.
It's because there's just so many different type of concert goers out there. But I find for our house concerts, usually about half of the people will come up and say, oh, I knew nothing of this music, or I can't play an instrument, or I don't usually go to orchestra concerts. They're there for the experience, not because they feel that they want that they're doing something highbrow. It's amazing to see how our audience has grown to people that just love the experience and aren't afraid of it.
Yeah, well, I wonder too if the perceptions around classical music, in a sense, our field has sometimes done it to ourselves by creating this sort of pedestal dwelling experience, by having such large venues, by valorizing the artist as something so extraordinary and privileged, that actually the person, it isn't necessary, it isn't something that is inherent to the music, because music is neutral in that way. It's more the experience of welcome and scale and a feeling of understanding that chamber music can meet people where they are. And it sounds as though these house concerts really do that. And Lance, how about for you? Tell us a little bit about sort of the path of a new or existing patron to one of your concerts. What is that? What is their experience like?
Well, their experience is different from Sandra's in the sense that that our venue is not a lovely mansion. It's a very spare, plain, 150-year-old adobe church with a wooden floor and solid adobe walls. But within that space, there are 150, 175 people. Most people know each other already from being in the community. You see them at the post office or the grocery store, or at the animal feed store. Corrales has 8,000 people and 8,000 horses. So a lot of it is very familiar. There's a lot of interaction outdoors before people go in, and they're standing out in the courtyard talking with each other. We do have an intermission in our regular programs. So at intermission, people can go out. A local elementary school or a high school or a chorus will provide refreshments that people can buy and stand around and drink apple cider and coffee, especially if it's cold outside. But people really do enjoy the social interaction at our venue. And honestly, that's one of the things that we miss terribly in the pandemic environment. Our programming is multi-genre, so we don't always do classical chamber music. We have pianists, we have jazz, we have Celtic, we have singer-songwriters, and we have traditional string quartets and string quintets and guitarists in classical music in that regard. And our goal artistically, besides just the environment, is frankly to bring music to this community that they might not otherwise be have available to them, or they might not be familiar with. And one of the most frequent comments we get from people after the concert is, I'm a seasoned subscriber and I really didn't think I was going to like this program, but it opened my eyes and my ears, and I enjoyed it more than I thought. So that's really our goal in the experiential process, is to widen people's horizons musically.
Yeah, well, you've just hit on something that I think has been a very profound lesson to the arts community in the relationship between audience members and organizations in the realm of trust. right? Because what you've just described, especially with the breadth of music, that people will dip their toe and try something, maybe discover it, maybe decide that it's not for them, but they will come back because they trust you.
It certainly is. And I'll speak just to the fact that each of our monthly concerts has a concert sponsor, a large dollar amount for a concert sponsor. And when we had to cancel both the last two concerts last year and then had to move online this year, all of those concert sponsors stuck with us. And in fact, the vast majority of ticket holders for the two concerts that we canceled in March and April, we asked them if they would be willing to convert their ticket purchase to a donation, and probably 95% of them did so and did not ask for a refund.
That's tremendous. Hey, Sandra, did you have a similar experience?
Same exact experience, because we actually started our ticket sales for the following season in February. So before the pandemic, we had great ticket sales for the following year, and then the pandemic wiped it all out. So we did find it was about 95, 96% of the people decided to convert it all to donations. And we had our strongest individual contributions over this past year. So it's really a testament to how protective they feel about us, how much they love our musicians and what we're doing, and they believe in us.
Yeah. Well, you know, it is something that I hope our viewers will pause on, because we saw this year the power of community engagement and attention around so many different issues, whether it's the arts, social causes, and, you know, elections and support for community. And the pandemic laid bare so much inequity in our world. And I was very touched as well. You know, Washington Performing Arts had half our season was gone. We had sponsors. People were incredibly supportive, because I think they recognize with organizations like yours and ours that, we can't come back if we can't survive through this period. And in fact, with, partnership and with collaborations with artists in our community, with Midori, with Pip, with each other, that we actually may be finding some new ways to connect with our peers and underscore the value in our community. So I would never, and I've said this before, I would never want to suggest that the pandemic had a sort of a learning component to it, or to be chipper about that, because of the suffering and the grief, and again the inequities laid bare. But I do think this is a chance to reflect on the work that you've done to sustain your community, as we've done, and Midori, for you to see that these connections and relationships, the fact that there are so many different touch points for Pip, that it isn't just sort of zooming in, zooming out, but building relationship and catalyzing something it's going to make our communities around art healthier when we come out of this.
I certainly hope so. But I'm just so inspired by hearing the stories, hearing what they have to say. And of course, I've been there in Corrales. I haven't yet been in Charleston, because unfortunately my concert was canceled, and we're trying to see that, we can do it when the pandemic is over. But it's always this experience of being there in person and then getting to hear these stories and seeing it, and now hearing their stories already. It's very, very, very special. It's not to say that, I don't enjoy playing in large communities with large concert halls, but there's something so personal and personable about these performances with the Pip presenters, and the feeling that we're doing this together, that we're all, in it, enjoying, we're being embraced by the music. We're of course embracing the music as well, but we're doing this together. It's not the artist and the audience and the presenter. We're at it together. And it's such a special feeling. And also to know that this connection, this sense of community can be strengthened.
No, I think that it's a very optimistic note to wrap up on. So I just wonder, Sandra, And Lance, any final words? What are you excited about and looking forward to? What does 6 months from now look like in your?
Oh, yeah, we're just full of optimism here because here in Charleston it's springtime. The azaleas are out. People are outdoors. We're safely considering outdoor concerts and starting to share music in person. And people are just so excited to be together. Still very safe and being very careful, but I'm very optimistic about the next 6 months and what will happen next season.
We are also looking forward to the time when we can get people back into the church. We may take it a little bit more slowly and carefully because the church is a very, very tight environment. So we may have to look at different seating arrangements and that sort of thing. And the other thing that we're just beginning to explore is whether we want to continue in some fashion with the online experience as well as the in-person experience. We had no experience whatsoever in that regard. We've now had to climb a very steep learning curve, but we're thinking about the fact that many people in our community are older. They don't necessarily like to drive at night. So maybe we can give them some sort of access through the online experience that we weren't able to provide before. So that's another way that we're looking forward.
Absolutely. I think it's very exciting to take the learnings of this time and to engage more people and differently. The point is to bring great chamber music, great classical chamber music artists together with audience members. Midori, thank you for introducing me to these wonderful colleagues. And I'll really hope to have the pleasure of experiencing your performances and your friends and artists in person when it's safe to do so. And Midori, always thank you for your vision and for always approaching challenges with a creative answer and response, and for investing so much of yourself in this. It means a great deal to all of us, and you are deeply treasured. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you, Lance. Thank you, Sandra. I'm really, really so grateful to both of you for what you do for the community, and also sharing your wisdom and your stories with us today. Thank you.